Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping, Sam Carter from Stargate SG-1. Welcome to the Q&A. Just because my reproductive organs are on the inside instead of the outside doesn't mean I can't handle whatever you can handle.
Ganska exakt 50 år sedan. Och efter att hon gick ut University of Windsor School of Dramatic Art, hon har både skådespelat och regisserat flertalet produktioner och medverkat i bland annat Arkiv X, Supernatural, men vi känner det bäst som Savannah Carter från Stargate Atlantis. Ladies and gentlemen, award. Well, it says Atlantis here. SG-1 then. SG-1 then. I play my researcher. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Amanda Tapping.
Yeah, it's Sanctuary, it's Supernatural, this is incomplete.
Yeah, I know. I know. I said I played my researcher. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you. Texomikien. Did I say it right? Texomikien. That's it. That's all I've got.
Well, that's good.
Thank you very much for those of you who don't speak Texomikien.
Well, congratulations on becoming ACTR's Women of the Year 2015.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that means?
It means that I'm a woman in a year. ACTRA is the Canadian Actors Union, and I completely out of the blue got a phone call saying we want to make you our Woman of the Year for being an inspiration to other women. Who knew? And yeah, so it was a huge honor. I wasn't expecting it. It's very nice.
Do you know that you have appeared on screen in more Stargate productions than any other actor?
Really?
Yeah. 228.
Wow.
The next one is 212. That's Christopher Judge.
I beat Christopher.
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, how does it feel to hold such an honorable record?
You know what? It's a privilege. I know I just heard Sean saying that word. It's a great word. It's a privilege. Stargate is my family. It's a huge part of my life, my career, still is. And so every time they asked me to do something, it was like, of course. And then when I did Universe and I found out that I was the captain of a ship, yes! And then that the ship was called the General Hammond, I was like, ah, yes! It was awesome. So it's been great. It's been great. Yeah.
On Sanctuary, Sci-Fi Channel in Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a lead actor and executive producer.
That is correct.
What made you leave such a successful series as Stargate for Sanctuary?
Well, it was interesting because I was, Sanctuary was Damien Kidler, who wrote for Stargate, and Martin Wood, who directed a lot of Stargate, and myself decided to try to get this as a web series. So we thought it would be cool to go out on the web, multi-platform, with gaming and merchandising in the show. And we ended up getting the interest from a lot of television stations, and so we thought, oh, this could be a series. So when I was offered the 5th season of Atlantis, it was at the same time that Sanctuary was getting offers to become a series. And so I took what my character on Sanctuary would describe as a massive leap of faith. And I took this huge leap of faith in the hopes that Sanctuary would go, and it did. But I remember talking to Joe Malazzi and sobbing, like bawling my eyes out. I'm sorry, but I have to try Sanctuary. And I'm realizing that I was leaving the Stargate, the bosom of the Stargate family. And so it was very scary, but it was worth it. Yeah.
In Sanctuary, you're both actor, executive producer, and director. Which part do you prefer?
On Sanctuary, the acting, for sure. I love directing, and that's mostly what I'm doing now. And I loved the producing part of it, but Helen Magnus was such a great character. She's so fun.
You won a whole bunch of awards. Leo Awards, Women Actress, nominated Gemini Award, and Saturn Award, and a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, Canadian Comic Award 2007 for Breakdown.
Yeah.
Besides winning, you've been nominated several times as an actor, and you've also been nominated for the award as a director. Which nomination would you value most, actor or director?
I was very, the Leo Award was for the very first show I ever directed, which was Stargate Resurrection. So I was shocked and very pleased to get that nomination. But I think probably the first acting award, because it was the first time that the community in Vancouver, which I was relatively new to, had accepted me as one of their own. So that meant a lot. Yeah.
I recently saw your public performance, the commercial for your first public performance, the commercial for Tim Hortons oat bran muffin.
Real oat bran? Uh-huh.
It was something. But you've done other commercials, films, TV series, and theaters.
Yeah.
Which one would you prefer doing, and which performance are you most satisfied with?
Wow. I love doing television series because of the sense of family that you get, and I would say that Stargate was really the start of all of that. It didn't feel like we were on the air for 10 years, it felt like 9.5. It felt much shorter, it felt like it went by so fast. So I love doing television series because you get that sense of family with the crew and the cast and the routine, and I loved it. Loved it. Yeah.
Soon we'll see you as Mother Superior in the production of Hell in a Handbag. You're directing The Magicians.
Yes.
What can you tell us about upcoming productions?
Hell in a Handbag is a film that Martin Cummings, who's an actor that some of you may know, wrote and directed. And it was just a group of local actors, and I got to play a Mother Superior, so everyone was super nice to me because I was wearing the full habit, so everyone was very polite. So I think that you should walk around wearing the full habit if you're having a bad day, because people are so nice to you. Directing The Magicians. Have you guys seen The Magicians yet here? Great show, love it. I directed a bunch of Van Helsing, which I think, that's like hard work. I directed Van Helsing with a new hero, a female vampire hunter. Travelers is coming to Netflix for you. Brad Wright, who wrote and created this series Stargate. It's Brad's show, so I'm directing the finale of that, and it's fantastic. What else is coming up? Romeo Section, which is the local Vancouver show. X Company, which I shot in Budapest. World War II, Nazi-occupied France. Spies Behind Enemy Lines. I loved working on that, and that's coming up. And does anyone know Anne of Green Gables? Okay, so I'm directing the finale of this new remake written by one of the writers from Breaking Bad. So if you know anything about Anne of Green Gables, she's this iconic Canadian little red-headed orphan. It's like watching Little House on the Prairie kind of era. Really wholesome, plucky little kid. And it's written by one of the Breaking Bad writers. this new adaptation. So it's going to be very interesting. So I shoot that in January.
Right, that I will looking forward to.
Yeah.
You co-founded the Canadian comedy group Random Acts. Yes. Can you please tell us how you come up with that?
Random Acts was three of us, all actresses in Toronto at the time, who kept running into each other at auditions, and we just became friends, and we decided we wanted to do like feminist theater with meaning and depth. But I like comedy, so I said, you know, if we did these stories but we made them funny, then people would maybe get the message, because you know you're laughing and it's fun. So we decided to do we decided to form a comedy troupe, and we did stories about Anne Sexton's transformation poetry. Anyone knows that's very heady. And we did this show about a book that was written called On Becoming a Woman, and it was written in the early 60s, and it was how women should behave. Things like greet your husband when he comes home from work with a drink, but don't ask him too many questions. Keep the children quiet. Make sure you look presentable at all times. that kind of thing. It was like, if you like a boy, knit him a sweater. It was too easy to do a comedy routine about this book, so that kind of stuff is what we did.
Nice. You do a lot of charity.
Yes.
You have been offered awards and life memberships all around the world, actually. So can you please tell us something about your charity work?
My charity was formed in 2008. We started thinking about it in 2007. It's called Sanctuary for Kids. Yeah. We have a lot of sweatshirts and t-shirts and supporters all here. Basically, the idea of the charity came because I feel so connected to the sci-fi community, and one of the things that is so great about you guys is how connected you all are, how socially aware you are, and how if you have a cause, you stand behind it and you're so supportive, and also how generous you all are as human beings. It's a really unique fan base, I think, in sci-fi. I think I consider myself a sci-fi fan also. I think we are incredible people in that we really care about our world. And I think that that's kind of the message of sci-fi too. It's good, the duck is leaving. So anyway, Sanctuary for Kids was started. We work with charities that deal with children in crisis around the world. We have 3 charities in Nepal, an orphanage, Nepal Orphans Home, Asha Nepal, which helps trafficked women and their children, getting them out of sexual slavery, and Next Generation Nepal, which deals with trafficked children. And we also work in Vancouver with Rotary, which is a group that gets homeless teens off the streets and transitions them into work and homes. And now they work with homeless teens and their children, getting them off the streets. We support a school in Haiti, and we do special fundraising relief when there's disasters. So basically our mandate was to help children in crisis. We're a non-for-profit, we fundraise, we have fundraising events. One of my biggest and most favorite is in England called Gabbit. And yeah, we raise funds. We're online, sanctuaryforkids.org. We've got an initiative going on right now, our Winter Bricks and Blocks campaign. And I'm just really proud of it because what started out as a little idea is now, you know, almost 9 years old, and we've raised about $800,000, and we're building, we're building buildings for the orphanage, and we're getting kids into college, and we're getting kids off the streets, and I'm just really proud of it. But mostly I'm really proud of all the fans who have supported us.
I heard you do a play, The Vagina Monologues.
So I feel awkward all of a sudden. Yes? Your title called it probably the most important piece of political theater of the last decade. It is. What the Vagina Monologues does is it raises money, and it's around the world now for V-Day, which is to end violence against women and girls. And so it's a massively important initiative. Eve Ensler wrote the play. It's a series of monologues. It's performed, like I said, all over the world. And I was lucky enough to be a part of production in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here in Sweden we have Kim Andersson who made it.
Yeah.
She played it a lot of years.
Yeah.
She sadly died of cancer.
Oh.
If I ask you to share a special memory from any production, which memory would you share?
Kissing Jonathan Young. That was pretty special. I would say sort of iconic moments, like, and you probably heard the story, but the first time that Michael Shanks and Chris Judge and I saw the Stargate, when we were walking around the sets in Burnaby at the studio, we'd just gotten the show. I think we'd done the read-through and maybe our first costume fittings, and we were allowed to wander around the sets, and we were like, wow, this is really cool. And we went up the set of the round circular staircase in the, up to the briefing room. I'm trying to think the control room. Wow. That room with all the blinky lights. We went upstairs to the briefing room and looked through the window and saw the Stargate and went, oh my gosh, this show might actually go. Like, they've spent a lot of money on this thing. And then they showed us how it moved and turned on a computer, like so that all the scenes lined up. And anyway, the first time the 3 of us stood there and saw the Stargate and were like really in awe. And then 10 years later, we shot the very last scene. Rob Cooper was directing, and the very last shot of the series, SG-1, he planned it, so it was all of us going through the gate for the last time. It was very emotional. We were bawling. The crew, people who hadn't even worked on the show in years, came that night. It was about 2 in the morning, and there was hundreds of crew members who had worked on the show throughout the years there. And we shot the scene, and we're all crying and hugging and trying to get through the gate without crying, which is impossible. So they ended up doing it on our backs because we were crying. And anyway, afterwards, everyone's hugging, and Michael, Chris, and I just kind of found each other, and we all sort of snuck off, and we went up those stairs, and we stood in the briefing room and looked out the window at the gate, tears streaming down our faces, and we put our arms around each other and went, well, that happened. It was just one of those moments that it was so special. Slightly more special than kissing Jonathan Young.
Do you have any good pranks that happened during the film?
Oh my God, there's tons of them. And a lot of you have heard them before, but yeah, like Chris Judge was the big prankster on Stargate. Robin Dunn was the big prankster on Sanctuary. Robin's big thing was dropping his pants at inopportune moments. Like just off camera, or we were shooting in this house, and I'm out in the backyard doing this scene, and I look up, and in the window of the upstairs room is Robin's bum. So, and the cameras are rolling, right? Nobody can see him, they can just see me being like an idiot. And Chris Judge, of course, used to duct tape people to chairs and things like that. And he had, I don't know if this will translate well. Most of you have heard this story, but Chris Judge has very bad gas. Really, really, really bad. Like to the point where we were saying to the caterers, you can't have beans at lunch. Like there were things that were banned from our catering truck because of Christopher. But he used to like clear rooms when he would toot, fart, whatever, I don't know how to say it in Swedish. Fart. Prutt. Christopher Judge. So one day he was in the spacesuit, he had the full NASA spacesuit. And the NASA guy who came and like fitted them and put it on him and did the lid and the whole, like he was in. You're like, and then they put the little hose and that's how he breathed. And he let one go. And we all just stood there because it didn't affect us. And it was just him. He just filled up his suit. And he was just... And another time he did it, he was tied to one of the beds in the infirmary, or the operating room. And he did it, and we just walked, everyone left. The crew, the cast, we all just went for lunch and left him tied to the bed. So that was our revenge.
Good one.
Yeah.
A guy over there just waved at me and said, 4 more minutes! So we have time for like 2-3 questions here in the audience. Yeah. The first hand I saw was yours.
Hi, I want to ask you about accents, because you've done so many different accents on so many different shows, and obviously I know about your background and your roots, but there are jokes on both Sanctuary and Stargate about Canadians and Brits, and how do you approach different accents, and how do you work your way around sounds that might not be there in your own accents?
You know what was actually the hardest to get, because you'd think it would be the easiest, was learning to sound American. Because I'm very Canadian and I have Britishisms because I grew up in a house that was very British. And so it was the way that we pronounce certain words that the Americans don't. So for the first season or 2, I would get these notes where I would have to go into the soundstage and loop. Like I would say process instead of process. And they would write it out phonetically for me. And all at notes, too British, too Canadian, too Canadian, too Canadian. All the time. That was the hardest because if you think we're speaking the same language, it sounds the same-ish. No. So it took a while for me to learn how to sound American. Y'all.
What episode was the most fun to shoot?
Wow.
228.
The 200th was like the 100th and the 200th episodes of Stargate were super fun because we got to do exactly what we love to do, which is be idiots. And then at the end of season 8, episode where like Michael and I are kind of dorky versions of ourselves, and that was super fun. Like, we couldn't stop laughing. The scene on the boat with the life jackets, we were like laughing our heads off. And I was pregnant with my daughter when we were shooting that, so I got to wear like looser costumes, which was really fun. But I got the giggles, like, and I couldn't stop. Which is kind of what I do anyway, but I blamed the pregnancy. Yeah, that was fun. Hi.
Do you consider Samantha Carter to be a role model for girls?
I do. The question, if you can hear it, was, do I consider Sam Carter to be a good role model for girls? Yes. And I didn't realize how important that was when I first started to play her. I mean, I knew this was a big break to get Stargate, so I was very careful about not ruffling any feathers and not, doing exactly what the producers wanted me to do, except when it came to my first costume fitting. And I thought they were going to fire me because they wanted me to wear something very different than what I ended up wearing. And I wanted to honor not only women in the military, but also this character and be just like the guys. So I wanted a regular shirt and I wanted the regular costume because that's what women in the military would wear. And so that, I was afraid they were going to fire me when they didn't, so that was good. And then from then on, it was after sort of our very first convention in England, which was maybe during season 2 or 3, and I had all these young women coming up, and then I was getting letters from mothers and teachers and girls, and I was like, whoa. And that's when I realized not how important the character was, not only how important the character was, but how important how responsible I felt for her and how she was portrayed. Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. According to the guy that stands over there behind the door.
If I were going to do it, I'd have to do that.
You waved at me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, well thank you. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here. I don't do a lot of conventions anymore. I do my Gabbett event, but the last convention I did was in Malmo. So apparently I love Sweden, which is great. It's been a real pleasure, and it's been lovely meeting you and seeing some of you again and again, which is great. And to meet new faces. Thank you so much for being so lovely. Thank you.